All right, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of YouTube. This is Pastor Dowell. A few weeks back, I was interviewed by Jim and Jason, the Sons of Liberty broadcast. A very, very professional interview. And I am sure that you will enjoy it. It's about an hour and 38 minutes long, but I guarantee that this would probably be the best 1 hour and 38 minutes that you probably have ever spent in your life when it comes to information, truth and knowledge going forth, and what's happening here in the world today. The reason why I'm actually posting this up again is because there are many, many new subscribers that may not know too much about Pastor Dowell. And this will give you an opportunity to not only hear, but to listen to the perception that we have here at the Ministry of Straightway on many, many different fronts in this life, as pertaining to social, political, and economic, and especially the religious viewpoint. Jim and Jason does an excellent job interviewing. Very professional, and I commend them. And I would love to be back on their radio broadcast again to talk about the things that are going on in this world. I want you to give an ear and listen. Have your family sit down, maybe listen to it over dinner, and get informed and get educated, and give a good ear. Maybe one day you'll probably become part of us. That's the hope. Y'all be encouraged.
Government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
We can meet our destiny to build a land here that will be for all mankind a shining city on a hill.
You're listening to the Liberty Brothers Radio Show, only on Revolution Radio. Now, here are your hosts, Jim White and Jason Van Tatenhove.
Crusade for freedom is your chance and mine to fight communism.
Please hang up and try again.
I think we actually have him on the line. Pastor Dowell, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I am here.
Welcome to the Liberty Brothers Radio Show. You are live on the air.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Well, it's great, Pastor. I'd say let me give you a proper introduction. Joining us on the line is Pastor Charles Dowell. Dowell. He's a U.S. Army veteran paratrooper with 10 years of service and also a war veteran. He's also the pastor of the Hebrew Israelite Heritage of Straightway, the Church of Jesus Christ. Pastor Dowell is also the host of his own radio show every Friday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on blogtalkradio.com Straightway. Every Sabbath, which is Saturday 11 Central Time, you can watch his live ministry services at www.online-church.org. At the ministry website, there's also a 24-hour-a-day radio broadcast at www.straightwaytruth.com/live. Pastor Dowell is also the leader of the Straightway community and home fellowships throughout the country. And he's also a real deliverance minister, which means that he casts out devils. Pastor Charles Dowell, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon on the Liberty Brothers.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm glad and honored to be here with you, James, and Jason. I'm looking forward to a wonderful broadcast, and hopefully that we can get some information out there and some more truth that would actually help the people out as we're faced with some very dire situations here in our country.
Indeed, we are. You know, this being your first time on the broadcast here with this Pastor, if you don't mind, if you could just flesh out your background a little bit, and majority, you're a diamond in the rough in the sense that the majority of the pastors these days are 501c3 pastors and really corporate leaders of a corporation of state really run with a 501c3. Tell us a bit about your background and why you decided to go the route, the non-501c3.
Well, the main reason why I decided to actually go that route is because I started doing my own independent research, and which, it's just like any other contract that anyone would actually involve themselves in with any type of government institution. The service, the terms, the agreements, and everything else is usually not disclosed to you. So I started looking behind this 501c3 and wondering what in the world was going on. Then I Come to find out, it's just another institution, kind of like the institutions of old, where the government has a lot more effect and intrusion into not only your private life, but your spiritual life as well. And I wasn't about to have them to tell me what I can preach and what I cannot preach, and to have me to accept people in the congregation of alternate or alternative lifestyles, and to give them place contrary to the order and the rule of law, the scriptures. So I wasn't going to have a gag order put on me like the majority of people do. And of course, a lot of times when people go into these things, they go into it pretty ignorant, not really truly knowing. If there's a lot of things that was revealed to us from the very beginning, instead of just following the norm, we wouldn't sign up for. But people do this in ignorance and not really truly understanding what they're doing. But basically, if you're a 501c3, you're actually under the rule of the government, and you're not serving the creator of the universe, Almighty Yahweh himself, or God. You're just not doing it. Of course, I can preach to the choir or preach to people and tell them all day long and warn them about this particular way that people have chosen to either involve themselves into these institutions, which is contrary to the word, and let them know that you are serving another master, whether you like it, understand it or not. It makes no difference what mental assent that myself or anyone else may put to it. The bottom line is that we're actually serving another master. So when Jesus told us that no man can serve two masters, that's exactly what the government has done. They have come in and have trumped the actual spirituality and the faith of people by having them to join up with the state or the continuing revived Roman Empire that is entrenched today.
Well, Pastor, you seem to be a very, very awake fellow. I've been watching your videos, and I got to say I'm very impressed the way you're combining both a spiritual truth and a truth of the day, a political truth, as to what's happening out there in the world. And we really seem to be in a world that's gone crazy. We've got Ferguson ready to just go up in fire. We've got this big amnesty announcement happening, which I'm predicting will be probably about the same time that Ferguson kicks off. We're seeing weather patterns that we've never seen before. It just seems like the world is crazy. We're now ranked below 20 other countries for personal freedoms. What's the biggest things on your radar right now? It sure seems like things are just crazy. And what do you think is some of the bigger issues we're facing right now?
Well, some of the main issues, or the main issue, we live in odd times, because as we continue to decline in morality, and as we continue to decline in spirituality, and avoid that there is a higher power, meaning his name, the creator of the universe, Almighty Yahweh himself, we're going to continue to keep facing these type of changing conditions that we're set with here today. And our problem here is that people really truly refuse to acknowledge that there is a creator of the universe, somebody who made you and I, and they have actually trained us to have more fear of man than the fear of the creator. And when we start removing spirituality from the people, we start removing righteousness from the people, because I myself, we can't define righteousness on our own terms. It's written over and over and over again how people decided, because there was no judges in the land, that every man was going to do that which is right in their own eyes. And that's pretty much what we're faced with today, is that everybody pretty much is going around doing that which is right in their own eyes without a rule of law. And of course, the supreme law of the universe is the law that Moses gave us and all the prophets for us to follow. And as long as we continue to ignore, then we're going to continue to keep repeating the same mistakes of the past. We're no doubt following the same decline that the ancient Roman Empire, as well as other empires who have gone before us, have repeated. And we're making the same mistakes right now again. And of course, what's amazing to me is that we see so much demonology or devil influence throughout the social, the political, the economic viewpoint, and especially in the religious viewpoint, where the enemy is all but infiltrated. If he is just not in the pulpit, he has bought the pulpit, the church, and everybody else who's claiming to preach his word. And the people are deceived. And Satan is just about ran his course, and is just about got it complete with everybody lying under the control of the wicked one. But we are looking at some even more. Let me put it this way: we're going to decline even more so, and it's going to get to the point where things are so bad that the Most High is going to have to intervene, according to what the Book of Revelation said. But anytime we're declining in morality, is because we have actually forsaken the laws, the statutes, and the commandments of the Most High. And then if you don't have a people that is ruled by law, then lawlessness becomes the rule. And the prophet Isaiah said that there will be a time and a day will come that people will call good evil and evil good. And we're at this time right now. We're definitely at this time when people, especially this homosexual agenda, where people are having a hard time and children are having a hard time to discern the function of a man and a woman. The roles have been reversed. Things are just simply just turned upside down. And if we're going to get back not only to restoring our spirituality and not only restoring this country, it's going to take for some real, very serious hitting the knees, repentance, and change. Not just words. It's going to have to take change.
Pastor, let me switch gears with you for a minute. You know, I'm sure you've probably seen your share of racism, and it's an ugly thing, and we certainly are against it here on Liberty Brothers, and we've said so before many times. Do you see, in sort of along with that, what we talked about, we see that as being a tool by the globalists used to separate, fellas like you and I. So we don't want to speak to each other based upon our skin color, as opposed to, as Martin Luther King would say, the content of their heart or their character. Do you see the globalists using racism as a means to divide the population?
Well, yes, sir. I mean, that is their agenda, divide and conquer. And of course, let me just preface this with the Ferguson situation right there. We all know that the powers that be who are behind this is definitely inflating this and causing people to actually be more inflamed and enraged. And racism is actually going to be part of the downfall of this country right here. Because people are ignorant of history and they do not understand what has taken place in the past, knowing that the things that are happening today has already been before. And there always has been one people that have pit themselves against another people. That's why you have different rules of different empires. And we even have this envy and jealousy and this racism going on with countries. People just simply can't be content with who they are and what they are, but we actually have to feel like that we need to go and infringe on somebody else's rights. We need to actually make people the way that we think that they should be, and if they can't, then we cause racism. I live in the South, and I would tell you that racism is alive and well. Most people want to try to stick their head in the sand and act like that is not so, but it is true. And I run up against something very odd because I live in what I deem and term a very racist county. I'm the only black preacher in this county, and for a while there was probably less than 5 black people that lived in this county, and all of them lived on the same land that I did. And we're watching something unique take place because the ministry in itself is diverse. We have all different types of ethnic backgrounds, and the majority of the people who actually attend service here with us is actually people of white skin. And so, racism is going to continue in the system that we're living in right now, because that's what the powers that be use. It has caused more death. It has caused more destruction and more division. And they're not trying to keep people on this earth. And if you want to find out a quick way to kill somebody, start a religious war through racism, or just try to pit each other against each other based on the color of their skin. And it's remarkable and amazing that people can sit and see what's transpiring and taking place, and yet and still give place to the same old attitudes that has already been before. But they are going to use this as an opportunity to bring forth their agenda and to lock us down as a people. Racism. And just like y'all, I've heard y'all earlier talking about this Ferguson thing. This thing is going to explode if a verdict come forth. This man is acquitted and not guilty. We're going to watch something, because it's a sad situation. It's sad that this country has actually declined this way. But think about this for a moment. And I'm very passionate when I speak here, but I want to try to stimulate thought here. The people in this country who actually was the founding fathers of this country is the ones who actually started the racism from the very beginning. They sit down and they try to make laws. They try to have peace with people that they were making contracts and agreement with, and they broke every single one of them. And so this attitude is still in place today, except it just flies under the radar. And so this same system that came over here to actually take this country is the same system that is entrenched in place today. And it's the same system that is still oppressing people in the hour that we're living in. The problem that we're having today is ignorance. We're having a problem with ignorance on both sides of the fence for people to not understand that we're being controlled and we're being manipulated because they have done such a good job by sending us to their government institutions, and rather than educating us, they have trained us how to function in their society. And when we've learned how to been trained and function in this society right here, they already can understand if they submit certain thoughts, if they put certain commercials or if they advertise certain things to our eyes and our ears, that we're going to function a certain way. And so unless a people shake themselves and wake themselves up out of this matrix and see that the content or the color of your skin is really not the issue here, but we're dealing with a system of corruption. We're dealing with a system where you have the rich that is ruling over the poor, and they're looking to dominate and rule this whole entire world, but they have to kill a lot of folks in order to get their agenda forth.
Absolutely. I'd like to, again, change gears a little bit. It was mentioned in your intro that you've worked on doing some exorcism, and I've got to say that it really seems these days, and I've said this many times on our broadcasts previously, that when you break it down to its most basic level, what we're seeing today truly is a battle between forces of good and evil. And, with what we're seeing with, the increase in violence, the militarization, but even the pedophile rings and the upper levels of politics, this ritualized abuse that we see evidence of time and time again, it seems like there really is almost a demonic hold on a lot of these people that we might term elites. And can you talk a little bit about just, it seems like it's becoming more and more and getting a stronger foothold. Are you seeing that? I mean, when you're working with exorcism, can you talk a little bit about that experience? And, do you think that there truly is a battle with, demonic forces here on Earth?
Well, no doubt about it, because think about it. All these the music institution out there, government in itself, with all the secret societies and everything, everybody's picking and choosing sides, whether they decide to pick and choose it or not. And even if you don't make a decision, you've already made a choice. There's only two powers and two forces that are at war in this universe, and that's Yahweh, who we call God, and Satan. Period. And that's what's going on. And of course, I'm a pastor, and so my belief directly comes from the book in itself. Jesus clearly told us that the thief cometh not but to steal, kill, and destroy. And what we're watching in this day and hour, we're watching people who are demonically influenced, demonically inspired by these unseen spirits, these unseen forces that's working behind the scenes. I'll give you an example here. I'm actually doing another teaching this past Sabbath, and I've done another teaching this past Sabbath, this scripture study, and going to continue on the series here about demonic spirits. And I'm working on the spirit of fear right now. 2 Timothy tells us that Yah has not given us the spirit of fear, but a power, love, and a sound mind. So when you contrast that, when Jesus was on the earth, when you read the Bible, he says that he went and he cast out this dumb and deaf spirit. You go over to Acts 16:16, it talks about a spirit of divination. You go over to Numbers 5, it talks about a spirit of jealousy. You go over to the book of Isaiah, it talks about a spirit of heaviness. We have the spirit of whoredoms. We have all different types of spirit that the Bible talks about over and over and over again. The problem we're having today is that the preachers in the pulpit are not putting focus and emphasis on this battle. Over and over and over again, we get scriptures that tell us the weapons of our warfare are not carnal as ye suppose, but they're mighty through Yah to the pulling down of strongholds. It clearly lets us know that we are in a battle. It tells us, for we wrestle not, according to Ephesians 6. against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and rulers of darkness in this world, spiritual weaknesses in high places. These things are here, they're there. And people don't understand that if they don't get control of their thoughts, if they don't understand exactly what's going on, they're going to continue to keep functioning after this. So world rulers, kind of like in the day of Daniel, when he was praying and fasting, seeking for the end times and to understand exactly what's going on, there was an angel that came to him to deliver the message, but then this angel had to fight not only to get in, but he had to fight to get back out of this earth in order to not only bring the message, but then to go back to Shemaim, or what is called heaven. So as long as people continue to keep ignoring the devil's going to continue to keep raising all this hell, all this death, and all this destruction on this earth. And I venture to say that the preachers themselves have a very serious problem. And the problem is this, is that they have adopted a hands-off attitude. And they have allowed the enemy of our soul to actually run carte blanche against the people. And they have not given them the knowledge of truth that the people need in order to be able to cast out these spirits from people when they're influenced by it and devils. People call it modern day exorcism, but Jesus said in Mark 16:17, he said clearly, these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name they shall cast out devils, and they shall speak with new tongues. And that's what I have definitely been doing for the past 20 years. I have people come from all over the world who get demonic spirits cast out of them that bring all different types of influences on them that cause literal hell in their life. And actually had a few of them even speak to me on a few occasions. But no doubt that the president, and I hate to say that, but it's just the truth, all the world rulers, they are controlled by demonic powers. The music industry, who is just right in our face today. They are not hiding anything. It used to be in my day growing up that you had to really truly look very, very close to even find what you would call the devil right out in the open. But the people's eyes today are eyes wide shut. But it depends on what lens you are looking through. If you're going to constantly continue to keep looking through the lens of these deceitful words that the people are putting in front of you, and they continue to keep ignoring the battle that is at hand, then you're never going to see this. It's amazing when Jesus, the Messiah, Yahshua HaMashiach, was here on this earth, the one thing that he did was actually expose the work of the devil. And he talked to the devil. He cast out devils with the people. He went into the synagogue. Every time he went into the synagogue, there was a man vexed with a devil or an unclean spirit, and he dealt with evil demonic spirits. But you contrast that till today, and to the time that we're in now. Majority of people go to assembly, church, synagogue, mass, whatever you want to call it. They go to these places, and nobody is dealing with the devil that has an influence on man's mental, psych, and volition. It's just a sad situation how he's been able to run so free. But then you watch the rappers Beyonce, you watch all these rock stars, Aerosmith, and all them who make open admissions about how they're serving Satan, Baphomet, and everything is just in your face. And today it's more in our face than it was when I was a child. And just like when the homosexuals in the closet, now they're out of the closet. So we're having evil triumph because we don't have enough good men that is willing to stand out there and stick their neck out and do good.
You know, Pastor, let me go back to the pulpit for a minute. Do you see the problem? Here's the way I see it. In some instances, you get a big church and you have a staff, and you have, of course, the pastor has a salary, and a lot of times I know that they pay for maybe the pastor's his home and his insurance. Well, that takes a certain amount of tithe to be able to maintain that on a monthly basis. And I think some churches are levered up to the point where if one or two of their big donors leave, then they're in some big trouble. Do you think that that's an influence, and that influences some pastors to maybe not talk about these controversial topics like they should be talking about because they don't want to offend maybe their good givers? Do you think that's a factor in some of these instances?
Well, you hit the nail right on the head. I mean, church today and Christianity as we know it is big business. And you're definitely not going to, want to go out there and offend your big contributors, the ones who are actually contributing to the cause or giving tithes, free will offerings and stuff, because if you offend them, it's going to mess with your cash flow. It's amazing. You know, they have this prosperity doctrine out there. I wish above all things that you'll prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospers. So they have this prosperity message. Well, now, what do we do with this prosperity message since we're facing an economic collapse in this country? Because while these people have been lied to, fleeced, thinking that their ship is going to come in if they sow a seed of $1,000, that somehow, some way, God is going to turn around and return that to them 100 times fold, and their ship never comes in, but the preacher ship has come in. And these people have catered to the people. They have lied to the people. They have fleeced the people in order to keep up their ease plus lifestyle. So it's a business, and they're not interested in souls. They're interested. Their interest is prospering in his life, making their pockets fat while they exploit the people. And the people, don't get me wrong, I'm going to quote what the prophet says. The prophet Isaiah said, and the people love to have it so. The people love to be lied to. The people love being deceived. The people love blaming all these preachers for deceiving them is because their heart in themselves were deceived. If the people would simply wake up, read the Bible for themselves, use a little bit of self-autonomy, we can stop a lot of this nonsense that's going on today. But yes, these people are going to continue to keep on fleecing these people and catering these people in order to get more money out of their pockets as long as the people tolerate it.
Pastor, I was wondering if you might be able to go back a little bit and talk about some of the issues that kind of originally woke you up. You know, we're seeing a great awakening here in America, and we all have our own journeys that we're making with our own awakenings. I know mine kind of started back with 9/11. My brother was, two blocks away from the buildings when they fell, and we couldn't get a hold of him. But I remember, and I'm from the northern New Jersey, New York City area originally. So I knew what Building 7 was. I remember watching, we were glued to the TV set because we weren't sure what was happening with my brother, and seeing the reporter saying that Building 7 has gone down, when Building 7 was right behind the reporter. And that kind of was one of the first things that started me down my journey. Can we talk a little bit about some of the things that got you started with your own personal awakening?
Well, after being, I was in the military and I was a veteran for 10 years. And I can tell you right now that my eyes was wide shut almost the entire time that I was in there. When I got filled with the Holy Spirit, Jesus filled me with the Holy Spirit, and I started reading the Bible. That's what started my awakening process. And this happened in about truly being woke about 93, 94. I started reading the Bible, and I started looking at the conditions of this earth and seeing what's going on. And I started using the book of Acts as my blueprint. And as I started using the book of Acts as my blueprint, I started to see exactly what is taking place. Everything that has been written and everything that has gone on before, whether it be in the history of mankind or either in these scriptures, it's happening all again. You mentioned 9/11. I remember where I was when 9/11 took place. I was actually in a shop getting ready to go and buy a refrigerator, and I saw it flashed on the TV screen. And as soon as I saw the Twin Towers go down, because I've seen many things blow up in the military, and I know what a controlled demolition was, I immediately said that was a controlled demolition. And I knew that the powers that be were going to use this to exploit, again, the American people to perpetuate more wars for big oil in order to take care of their bottom line. And so I pretty much at that time really truly start diving into the Bible. My eyes begin to really open more than anything. And that's that's the advice I would give to anyone. If they really truly want to understand what's going on, you really truly need to get into that Bible to understand world history from a biblical perspective and a spiritual perspective to know what's going on naturally. We've had the natural, now we're in the spiritual fight and the spiritual battle. And ever since then, I've done everything I could to do whatever I can to try to draw and wake people up by using truth. No lies, no fabrication, no gimmicks and games or putting on a circus or a show. I've tried my best to wake them up by truth. And some people, they wake up because of the economic situation in the country. They can feel it in their pocketbooks. They know things are going wrong. Some people, they wake up because they can understand all these unwarranted wars that are going on here in this world. With me, again, it was the Bible and everything that I see that is going on. And of course, now that I'm a whole lot more informed in my latter years than I were in my earlier years, because when I went to, I call it often Gubbert public food, I was kept in the dark by a lot of things, but self-autonomy has helped me be delivered of a lot of ignorance that is going on with us in the hour that we live in. And then to sit and see the Constitution actually erode right in front of our very eyes, and to watch the moral decline, the spiritual bankruptcy, and the degradation that is going on in our society, and watching how our children are being evilly affected and literally poisoned. How can a man or woman who have any concern for their fellow man, their fellow brothers and their sisters, not be woken unless they enjoy the sleep that they're in?
You know, Pastor, we tend to think here that it doesn't really matter political party. I'm not sure if the political system really is the solution. Some can, but I don't know if all the solutions can be found within the political framework. We see it here as Republicans and Democrats being pretty much two sides of the same coin, the same management team working, trying to get the CEO position pretty much. Really, there's not a lot of, in my view, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I don't see there being a whole lot of difference, with the exception of a few, between the Republicans and the Democrats. What do you see? How do you feel about that?
Well, again, there's really no difference between the Republicans and the Democrats. They're all rats. What they're doing is they're all playing a dog and pony show there. You're right. It's the same side of the coin. You flip one side, you get one thing. You flip the other side, you get the other. But these people are there by design to continue to keep the people diseased so that they can continue to perpetuate their brand new world order system and to keep the people blinded, dumb, dormant, docile, and demoralized. And so when you get these people out here, I watch a little bit, not too much, because it makes me sick at times. And I watch these people still go out here every few years playing the same old game. You see it in towns, no matter where you go, they're going to vote Republican. They're going to vote Democrat. And things are getting worse. Things are not getting better. And so these political parties are nothing but a show and nothing but a farce. And if people put faith in these institutions right here, they're definitely going to be let down. Because these politicians are not your salvation. They're not my salvation. They're not your salvation. They're not anyone's salvation. These people, it's amazing. Let's use somebody for an example, Rand Paul. All right, we understand the history of his father, Ron Paul, and things that he has accomplished up there. But then when this Rand Paul gets in, running on the Republican platform and stuff, all of a sudden he gets up there and he said a few things that turned the people against him. But he's actually done kowtowed and cowed down just like anybody else. They may, when they're in their own states, when they're looking and begging for votes and begging for money, they may have the right intent when they first start off. But by the time they get to that White House up there, they're going to be turned. And the big corporations, the special interest groups, and the lobbies are going to turn them because these people are professional gangsters. And most people don't want to hear this kind of talk. But these people will kill you if you go against their system. These people will murder your family if you go against their system. So the people that you think you are electing, you're not electing anyone. You are selecting. These people have already been selected by other people, but they have already been entrenched and in place. You're just playing a game. And it makes no difference whether they say Democrat or Republican. I wish somebody would tell me the difference between George Bush and Barack Hussein Obama, because the only difference I see is the color of their skin. Both of them still represent and do the same things. Obama is actually perpetuating more war, more death, and more destruction than Bush did. And it's just amazing to me that the American people or the whole entire world can nominate this guy and give him a Nobel Peace Prize for killing and murdering people in sovereign nations and calling it collateral damage. And y'all have to forgive me here because at times when I'm answering these questions, I start to get a little passionate and start to get stirred up.
That's
Preach
okay.
preach on, brother. You're all right by us.
It's to be expected with a pastor. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about the clergy response teams that we've heard so much about, and it seems like there's little spy programs going on everywhere, whether it's InfraGard or just dentists being asked to talk with the federal government about their patients. Can you talk a little bit about the infiltration of federal government into the churches and just some of just how that's a bad idea and what we can kind of expect from it?
Well, a long time ago, of course, we've heard the arguments before the separation of church and state. There used to be a time when there was no such animal, because all the founding fathers, every single one of them, were very religious in nature. It makes no difference if they were Illuminists or Freemasons or deists or Christians or whatever flavor they wanted to be. They got together and they put together their constitution, and they actually used the Torah, or the first 5 books of Moses, as the baseline establishment of it. But these clergy response teams are nothing but a joke. Every single one of them are nothing but a joke. The people, how can I'm trying to find the words to stimulate thought here with the people today and get you to understand that your minds have been toyed with. You have been manipulated and controlled and dominated on an unprecedented level. And anytime that a preacher allows any type of government institution to come in, they're going to seek to change policy. They're going to seek to change rules, laws, and regulations. And this is what we have today. What we have today is we have the God of government trying to replace the God of the universe in the minds of the people. And this is what we're dealing with. And anytime you get, again, going back to 501c3, anytime you get these preachers submitting to this, then they're letting you know who they're serving. See, government by nature is God. So when you see on that $1 bill, "In God we trust," that's not the creator of the universe, Yahweh, who came down on Mount Sinai. That's the God of government, or the God of the United States of America. They're seeking to make laws, rules, regulations to rule and dominate, persuade you, and actually be judge, jury, and executioner and spiritual father in your life. And so the people, I advocate exactly what the book says. Come out of her. Come out of these churches. Come out of these institutions. Anyone that's trying to affect your mind spiritually and claim to be in government, and they want to try to make sure that their laws supersedes the law of the Father, then you need to get out of her. You need to come out of these places, because if not, you're going to be led down the toboggan slide into the eternal lake of fire along with the rest of these devils.
Pastor, if I've watched a few of your videos. Let's switch gears here for a minute. There's such a wide variety of topics that you're versed in that we can talk about, and this is just one of them. I've seen a few of your videos. You talk about silver. I'm a silver fan as well. Boy, you've seen it taking a hit. I think it was up. Modern times here, 2 or 3 years ago, it was close to $50. I don't think it quite hit it, but it was real close. If not, maybe it touched it briefly. But now it's here down to, $15, $16, depending upon the day. What is the overall plan on that? Do you think that's still a good investment, is to hold on to silver? Do you think it's just a matter of time? I mean, we're talking about a criminal mafia running things, as you pointed out earlier. And I got a feeling they can manipulate things for a pretty long time. What's your thoughts on that? Because it seems to me that with the $17 trillion in debt, that's just what they're reporting. And, it could be in the quadrillions with the derivatives and everything. It seems like precious metals may be a good play in the long run. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I can tell you the facts for sure. I know that China has bought 32 tons of gold just last year, and they're continually to keep stacking gold or precious metals. As a country, let's just do the math here. We're like close to $18 trillion, what they tell us in debt after they get finished fudging the numbers and cooking the books. But I personally believe when you throw in unfunded liabilities, that we're like $200 trillion in debt. Even just $1 trillion is hard to pay back, but $200 trillion, and you are exactly right. They can continue to keep kicking the can down the road for as long as they want. As long as America has the nuclear bombs to blow the hell out of the whole entire earth, they can do it. But I would tell you this, that silver and gold has a 5,000-year track record, a 5,000-year history, and it has never been to zero. And it has always been a sound investment, the best investment over paper, because paper depends on the so-called benevolent word, which I don't believe is benevolent whatsoever at all, of those who give their word, which we know that their word is suspect. In the time that we're living in, but we do know that silver, not ever going to zero, has always been an investment that will definitely yield dividends. Now, what we've got going on now is the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. These people are now all joining in league, and they're starting to trade outside of the petrodollar. Then we have China coming up with its own individual stock market. So we're looking at a world descent against the US dollar. And it's only a matter, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when this economy here in the United States of America collapses, because they can't continue to keep kicking against the whole entire world. And the world is understanding that in order for us to bring down this beast, in order for us to bring down this giant, we're going to have to join together. And it's amazing. You know that we as a country is broke and insolvent because Germany asked for their gold and the United States of America told them you can't get it back till 2020. So that's letting you know that Fort Knox is a farce. It's just a lie. And these nations are making moves, and a lot of moves. And the only reason why we as a country, the United States of America, over there in the desert and Afghanistan, is because the poppy plant and because of the oil. It's all about resources. They're putting all their eggs in the basket for resources. As long as you can take Federal Reserve notes that is definitely declining in your purchasing power, and you can buy tangible assets, you will always be on the winning side. Silver has taken a massive hit. And I'll tell you, I've invested in silver for quite a long time and still doing it. I've bought at every single level and will continue to keep buying at every single level, because every time I buy a silver coin, I pull more out of the system. And they are no doubt manipulating the actual stock market and all of the currencies of the world. But think about this for a second. Silver all of a sudden was going up pretty high, and then they slammed the market. They slammed it down by flooding it with contracts, paper. And they continue to keep doing this. They continue to keep throwing more and more money into the system and get ready for quantitative easing number 4. And they keep throwing this money into the system. And what they're doing now is hoping to shake everyone who has their mind into gold, silver, platinum, and metals, shake all these people out of trees to put it back into the system so that they can gobble up all of the tangible assets for themselves. And it's not working, because by right and by constitution, they have to continue to keep minting silver and gold. It's just part of it, and they are doing it. People are going to find themselves on the short end of the stick if they don't understand money and how money works. They really, really, truly need to think and listen and investigate and educate themselves real, real hard concerning tangible assets. I can tell you this, all the nations that I've just got finished naming, they are all not only getting their gold back, they are buying gold on an unprecedented level. They are stacking silver on an unprecedented level. And we're looking at the destruction of this country, because the way that ancient Rome was destroyed is when they started devaluing their currency. And that's exactly what is happening in the United States of America, except the way we're devaluing our currency is by printing money out of thin air. And since we've been off the gold standard, and we're watching our purchasing power and all the money and everything we invest in it really buy little to nothing. And it's just a literal shame. I hope that the people can hear the voice of reason and really, truly wake up, because if not, they're in some deep trouble.
Pastor, we've only got a couple of minutes here before the first break, and we're going to have you back. Of course, you'll be here for the remainder of the show. And this question's probably going to, it's a big topic. But real quick, you talked about Federal Reserve notes. Just how responsible in your mind is the Fed, the privately owned Fed, when it comes to the downfall of this country economically. I see them as being the number one villain. How do you feel about that?
I agree 100%. As a matter of fact, they are what I'll call oligarchies. I mean, I can throw many different terms: oligarchy, monarchy, or plutocracy. I guess you could call them a plutocracy because it's a ruling elite or class of people who power derived from their wealth. We've got a bunch of people behind the scenes that are literally buying up this country. And that's what the Federal Reserve is. The Federal Reserve is a private institution, a private bank that is actually buying up this entire country and putting us into indentured servitude. Every citizen in the United States of America, and check this out, 10 years ago, every citizen in the United States of America was responsible for about $40,000 of the debt, the national debt in this country. Now every one of them is knocking on the door of $1 million because of the choices and the decisions that these so-called politicians have made. These people who's supposed to be representing us, and all they're doing is taxing us, and the people have taxation without representation. But these people that actually have started this Federal Reserve, or these people have no country, they have no borders, they have no rules, and their total mission is to destroy this country. And you do that by the money supply. They don't care who's ruling the country. Let them control the money. Then they control the laws. They control the president or the CEO of this country or this company. And that's exactly what we're faced with today. And, you know, I'm saying that today, 90% of the Americans have got their head stuck in the sand, and they don't even know what's going on.
All right, Pastor. Well, we got the music coming on. We're going to break. We'll be back with the pastor once again after the break. Stick with us, folks, here on the Liberty Brothers Radio Show.
You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
All right, and welcome once again to the Liberty Brothers Radio Show. We are, of course, it's top of second hour, so as always, we're going to encourage all of our listeners to do their part to help keep Revolution Radio on the airwaves. We are the largest listener-supported internet radio station in the world right now, and we are growing leaps and bounds. So, yeah, definitely need your help to keep on the air. We are trying to raise $2,200 this month. We've got 12 days left, and we've raised about $1,489. So please, folks, if you love what you get here, getting everything, freedom, Agenda 21, truth to aliens and the paranormal, you get all kinds of things on this radio station. We tend to be more political and truth-oriented here on this show, but there's all kinds of shows. So if you love what you get here on Revolution Radio, to help us keep the truth coming by voting with your wallet. As always, we also ask that you go ahead and, looks like we got a military helicopter buzzing by at the moment. You always got to love that. All right, well, please do your part to help support us with the Liberty Brothers Radio Show. Go to thelibertybrothers.com. Tell your friends about us. We've got a lot of great products there, electronic or solar generators, all kinds of prepping stuff, some great books. Just do your part, help all the stuff coming from the libertybrothers.com goes directly to help keeping me and Jim and our families fed and the show coming to you. Also, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. And again, we are back now with Pastor Dowell, who is definitely a man speaking the truth. He pulls no punches, and you've got quite a following on YouTube. Can you talk a little bit about what you're doing on YouTube and your channel there? I know you've just got quite a few subscribers and seem to be having quite a reach there. Can you talk a little bit about what's going on with YouTube there?
Sure. YouTube has actually been a very good outlet in order to help me to get this truth out right here, because it's worldwide. The internet, anytime someone can use the internet in order to get the truth out, and then the people can choose what they want to hear, not, it's an advantage. YouTube is a tool. It is an excellent tool to reach people all across this earth. And it has actually been instrumental in the growth of his ministry. And not only that, you know, I don't have to put as much money into the internet and as I would a radio station like I used to when I can actually reach the world through video, because, you know, people are visual people today. And so YouTube has been a very good outlet. I mean, after all, on that particular venue right there, most people, when they run across me, they see Pastor Dowell, the first thing they think, okay, pastor of a regular Christian church or whatever they may have. That's what their first thought is. But then after listening to me, I've been able to gain people to Christ, to Jesus, because after all, that is my mission. Whether I'm speaking on the social ills of this country, the political process of this country, the economic sickness of this country, and especially the religious part of the, you know, of this word that I'm actually bringing out, that helps challenge, you know, help people challenge in their minds what they believe to be the truth. Because after all, there's a lot of things that we've embraced to be truth, but after doing diligent investigation, we come to find out it's just traditions of men and lies that have been made up and fabricated, because we haven't really truly done what Moses told us to, which is teach our own children. And so my desire is to continue to keep bringing forth this truth and to reach people in any way, shape, fashion, or form as I can. And of course, when they see a pastor on there toting guns and advocating guns, and which is the modern day sword, it really piques their attention. So I've been able to actually speak to the people and reach them on many different levels, and I actually thank YouTube for it.
You know, Pastor, we see Christians persecuted across the world. You don't have to dig too far into the headlines these days. Do you see that type of persecution perhaps coming to the very shores of our own good old USA one of these days?
Well, yes, sir. I'm a man of definitely an alternate conscience right here, because when we go back and look at the history of Christianity in itself, which is the accepted religion of today, and that's because people will not actually read the Bible for themselves and do their own due diligence and independent research to see what's going on. But everything that Christianity has done, you know, there's a law that says whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap. And the deception is assuming that Christianity is a righteous religion. That's the deception. Now, Jesus is the righteous Savior, but the religion of Christianity in itself is definitely suspect. And the reason why it's suspect is because the framers and the follower of the Bible that we follow, Abraham, he was not a Christian. He was a Hebrew. Isaac was not a Christian. He was a Hebrew. Jacob was not a Christian. He was a Hebrew and he was an Israelite. And when you go read in Exodus, it clearly tells you that God is the God of the Hebrews. And when you look out throughout history, we see that the Hebrews are the one that was persecuted. When we use the word Christian, most people don't understand that word actually derives because the Romans then were using that as a mocking term by calling them Christos, or follower of Christos, or Christians, as a negative and derogatory slant. Kind of like here in the South, if someone chooses to call me nigger, that would be a negative and derogatory slant that our society has actually placed upon these people. But most people don't understand that the word nigger is not a negative or derogatory slant at all. It's actually stating exactly where someone is from and what part of the earth they come from. But, you know, ignorance keeps people blind, and it actually inflames and incites and enrages them to think and do crazy things because of what they believe to be true. But I believe, and Jesus wasn't a Christian. He was a Hebrew and an Israelite as well. We just assumed that this religion of Christianity is the way. The word or the religion of Christianity didn't come into play until about the 3rd century, the 4th century, under Roman Emperor Constantine in 325 AD. And what he did was he fused paganism with the religion of Christianity. And that's how we end up getting Protestantism and Catholics and all these other different flavors, which none of them can agree upon whose doctrine is actual, factual, right, and truthful. But the people who profess Jesus Christ, who are followers of Christ or who are disciples of Christ, these are the ones that are being persecuted, but they're using the label of Christianity as a means to say, okay, because these people are followers of Christ, they're being persecuted. And no doubt they are being persecuted, because during the Inquisitions and during the Dark Ages, the Christians annihilated and killed and murdered a lot of people. And as a matter of fact, in 1619 or 1611 or 1492, let me say that, here in this country, there was a thing called the transatlantic slave trade. And this transatlantic slave trade was run by Christians. And Christians were the one who bought these slaves over here, raped them, robbed them, stole them from their land, committed murder, genocide, separated families. And these were the people who instituted the slavery here in this country under Christian doctrine. So what's happening right now is that people have embraced this philosophy called Christianity, which actually gets its roots from the Hebraic scriptures. And they have embraced this religion called Judaism, which gets its roots from the Hebraic scriptures or the Hebrew scriptures. And these religions have become the most powerful religions on the earth today, simply because the people that were illiterate then, and they couldn't read and write because they were forbidden, we still are dealing with illiteracy today, except the people can read and write and they're still illiterate. And so we have the three major religions in the world, which is called Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. All of them profess to have Father Abraham as their father or the father of faith, yet and still they're murdering and killing each other on an unprecedented level. And so it's really truly the Israelites, the ones that have been scattered according to prophecy, that has really been suffering the injustices. We're dealing with war, a religious war that is taking place on every front throughout this world. And when we see the United States of America, along with the other United Nations or the UN nations or the European nations, go across these, they're actually making war with Islam. This is nothing new. It's just like the Byzantine Empire going after the Ottoman Empire. It's nothing new. It just has been repackaged and rehashed in another way in order to keep us as the people dumb, dormant, docile, and demoralized, which I keep using them same words over and over and over again because I'm trying to stimulate thought and get people to see. So we have the people who profess Christ or under the banner of Christianity who actually going over and making war with these people who are Muslims. And who follow Islam. And there's a difference between someone who follows Islam and someone who's a Muslim, just like there's a difference between someone who follows Christ and someone who follows the religion of Christianity. So the majority of people in the world today that are being persecuted are the ones who actually name the name of Christ and they take him as their personal savior. These are the ones that are being persecuted because they choose to follow the laws, the statutes, and the commandments of the Most High. Not because they're Christians, because they're following the Hebrew Messiah.
Well, Pastor, before we go any further, did you want to try to take any calls? I know we had some calls trying to come in earlier. We have the ability to do it, but we don't always. But if you'd like to, we can certainly take some call-in questions. It's always kind of hit or miss as to what we get on the call-in line, but we're welcome. We sure can do it if you'd like to. What do you think?
Sure.
I'm
open for that.
Well, folks, if you want to check it out and talk with the pastor, ask him some questions, we ask that you keep it polite, please. Otherwise, we will cut you off. But you can reach the call-in line. It is for our studio, area code 310-421-4053. Again, that's 310-421-4053 is the call-in line. So if you'd like to call in and ask some questions, we'll try to fit you in between the questions that we're asking. So go ahead and call now if you'd like. All right. Well, Pastor, with everything that's going on, everything we've been talking about, it sure seems at times like it's easy to lose hope, and that we're just fighting a battle that almost seems impossible to win. Not that I am giving up hope whatsoever, but it does seem unsurmountable at times. What do you think we have to do to really turn this country around? I mean, I believe in America. I believe that America was the greatest country that we've ever seen. That we've seen the greatest prosperity of a middle class that we've seen in history, and we've kind of gone from ox carts to the moon in that time. Now, of course, it coincided with a petrol bubble and whatnot, but I think it had everything to do with what our founding fathers had originally laid out. Now, it was by no means perfect, but it certainly was the best that we had so far in recent history. And we sure have gotten far away from where we started. Can we talk a little bit about how we might be able to get this country back on track and even better than it's ever been? Is that possible, or is it all just too late? What do you think?
Empires come and empires go. Throughout the history of mankind, we had the Egyptian Empire, we had the Babylonian Empire, we had the Medes and the Persian Empire, we had the Greek and the Roman or the Greco-Roman Empire, and now we have the American Empire or the European Empire, who is dominating and ruling the nations today. And the question is this country going to turn around? No, it's not going to turn around. And the reason why is because we're faced with the same conditions that Jesus told us about. And I know a lot of people would like to actually distance themselves from the Bible in itself, but Jesus told us, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the coming of the Son of Man. He gives us many, many warnings about the moral decline. See, this is the problem, and this is the reason why this country is not going to be turned around, because in order for this country to be turned around, the people have to get back to a spiritual condition. They're going to have to get back to defining what is good and what is evil, what is right and what is wrong. And we have too many people today that want to straddle the fence rather than actually calling a spade, right, and wrong. And that's how this country, if we use America as the model and the tool, the way it was then, because no doubt it was a great country at one time. But when you look and see the country that we live in today, opposed to just 40 years ago, when I was raised as a little boy, there's a great difference in morality today. There's a serious decline, and people are just not interested in holiness. They're not interested in obeying the 10 Commandments. They're not interested in anybody telling them what to do when it comes to being spiritual. People are in the condition now where every man is doing it which is right in their own eyes. And remember, corruption starts from the top, which is the biblical word iniquity. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many is waxing cold. And we're looking at a country in serious decline, or the end of this empire is all about just complete. And my advice to the people is save yourself. Keep on enduring. Occupy till he comes, and stay the course and save yourselves. Start preparing yourselves to take care of you, your family, and those who are your loved ones. Because the way things are going right now, we are headed towards a showdown in this country, and it's not going to be avoided. It's not going to be avoided because these people are interested in accomplishing their global agenda, and they can see it in the crosshairs, and they see it. If we can get everybody, and I'll say it one more time, if we can get everybody in this country to agree on 10 things, which is the 10 Commandments, there will be a possibility of this country turning around. But when you look at the debauchery, you look at the moral decay of this particular society, I don't have a lick of hope, especially with the conditioning of the people's minds who are being modified by GMO foods, chemtrails flying over our head every single day, poisoning us, making sure we stay sick as a nation, because if you're sick, you can't operate right, you can't think right, you cannot function right. And they're making us a bunch of drooling, mind-numb, idiotic people who are only interested in if the Dallas Cowboys are going to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, or if LeBron James got a slam dunk against the Miami Heat the other night. I mean, it's just a sad situation. And so as Rome, ancient Rome, was in decline when they devalued the currency and they gave the people a bunch of pleasure to keep them off the main issues of the day and give distractions, our country is doing the same thing. this Ferguson situation is going to be something to see, because I would love to see what distraction that they're going to use in the news media to keep our attention away from the real issues that are taking place right now here in this world. It's going to be utterly amazing.
Yeah, Jason pointed that out. Jason pointed that out earlier, as a matter of fact, that very thing, Pastor. We're not really a program here that really, bashes people, so to speak. And this may sound like I'm trying to, but I want to get your opinion on this. Being a pastor, you hear people like Joel Osteen and his wife stand up and made the claim, it made news about 3 weeks ago, where she told everybody in the congregation that they weren't really here for Jesus, they were there for themselves. How bad is it for the body of Christ, or those people that are really maybe seeking, or people that are really trying to get the truth? And like I said, this is going to offend probably a lot of Joel Osteen fans, and I don't know what else to say except, what are you going to do? What's your thoughts on Joel Osteen and that type of preacher? I mean, it's really damaging to the body of Christ. Do you think? Is that a true statement?
I believe that Joel Osteen is a liar. I think he's an imposter. I think that he's a son of Satan. And the reason being is because by their fruit, Jesus said, you shall know them. See, as a pastor, I don't have the luxury to where I can't judge righteous judgment, because the Bible said he that is spiritual, he judges all things, but yet he himself is judged by no man. When I speak the word of God, what God has to say. So therefore, I'm representing his opinion as an ambassador, because he didn't ask me for my opinion. He asked me to represent his truth. And that's the reason why that the prophets of old got stoned, is because they were willing to stick their neck out and tell the people that they needed to turn from their wicked way. But this devil is doing exactly what he's supposed to. He's fleecing the people. He's making a mockery of the people. And the people are stupid to sit there and listen to that nonsense and to actually continue to keep on falling. But I contrast that again to what the prophet Isaiah said. The people love to have it so. Jesus said, the blind lead the blind, and they both fall into the ditch. If Jesus was here on this earth today, and I often said it once, they wouldn't put him on a cross today. They would put him in the electric chair, and they would literally electrocute him and then take him out to the stake and burn him at the stake, because he's a revolutionary. He tells the truth. He don't care what people think about it. He's representing the Father. And these people who are claiming to be preachers, that's the reason why I keep telling people over and over again. You watch these people fruits. You watch these wolves that are coming in sheep's clothing. You look and see what they're doing as they fleece the people. And then they laugh and scorn and mock you to your face. Take advantage of you. Don't care nothing about your eternal soul. There's no way. They can be a Christian, but they can't be an Israelite. And that's why I tell people to come out of her, my people, saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing. Come out from among her. People need to come out of these religions that Jesus never promoted. The apostles never promoted. These people are fleecers. These people are seducers. These people are liars. These people are evil beasts, and they're slow bellies. And if the people don't come out, then they deserve exactly what they get.
Well, Pastor, changing gears yet again, let's talk a little bit. A lot of the sermons that I saw that you were putting out on YouTube had a lot to do with the Second Amendment and people having the right to defend themselves and us keeping our guns. We're seeing that we may have a little bit of a Christmas surprise coming our way, and it looks like, and this is actually just some news that's just coming out, but it looks like the United Nations Small Arms Treaty is going to take effect on Christmas Eve of this year. And of course, this is something that our Senate hasn't voted on, and we certainly haven't ratified it. But there's a lot of gun rights advocates that are worried that the Obama administration is going to use executive powers to try and push this through. especially in regards to import-export restrictions, and it's just it certainly wouldn't be put past him with what he's doing with the whole immigration issue that seems to be coming out. I believe tomorrow in Las Vegas he'll be talking about that. But can you talk a little bit about your views on the Second Amendment and the right for us to defend ourselves?
Sure, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state and the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's exactly what it says, exactly what it means. But I would tell you this, these people have never, ever, ever stopped in their agenda to disarm the people. They can make all the laws they want, but here's the attitude of the people in the South. There are approximately somewhere along about 360, 370 million Americans in this country. And over 300 million homes in this country have firearms. And I wish them well trying to take the firearms. I don't care what UN treaty, what laws they try to pass, but we're not going to follow Austria. We're not going to follow these European nations. We're not going to follow Canada, where the people have been disarmed, and watch crime accelerate and watch us not be able to defend ourselves and our families from all enemy, foreign and domestic. And government by itself has just gotten entirely too big. Now, it's amazing that you mentioned that they're going to try to pass this December the 24th, when Congress is allegedly on vacation. I assume that they're going to either come back again and try to vote something in. But how in the world does the UN? Now, this is why I keep telling us we as a country has been hijacked. What kind of influence does the UN got to do with us as a sovereign nation if they choose to make a UN secret arms treaty or an agreement with them? What kind of influence does that have on us as American people in the United States of America? Well, again, we've been sold out. We've been had. This corporation called the United States of America is nothing but a business. And the people need to understand that when you see the president of the United States, he's no different than the CEO of Goldman Sachs or anybody else. That's the position that he is in. And he has a cabinet, he has a board, and he has officers, just like any other corporation does. And until the people swallow their ego and their pride, humble themselves, and they start praying and turning from their wicked ways, they're not going to get this and understand this. I believe, just like over in the Bible, when it says that Jesus told the disciples, if you don't have a sword, you sell your cloak and you go buy one, and you need to have one on you. And that's the problem that we're having today, is because, look at this, Christianity, I keep going back to it again, and I'm not against people who believe in Jesus. I am personally against the religion of Christianity because I have not found anything truthfully about it at all. And mind you, I grew up in this country as a Christian until I started reading the Bible. But the way I see this, people who follow Jesus right here, they armed themselves. Luke 22:36 then said he unto them, but now he that have a purse, let him take it, and likewise a scrip. And he that have no sword, let him sell his garment and buy one. And that's amazing. We can't walk down the road today with 4 foot swords on our sides and stuff. But yet and still we can carry something more powerful, more lethal than that, which is a modern day firearm or a gun. And then he says in Luke 22:38, then, and they said, Lord, behold, here are 2 swords. And he said unto them, it is enough. And when Peter chopped off that guy's ear, he didn't tell him to get rid of it, go turn it in and let the government confiscate it. He told him to put it back up in his place. So I am definitely an advocate of the Second Amendment and the right of the people to keep and to bear arms. I believe that. And I don't believe that the militia is the National Guard. I believe it's the people. It's the people themselves. The government sets up the National Guard and the government pays the National Guard, but it's the people. It's up to them to actually defend themselves from all enemies, be they foreign or domestic. And today, America, your country has been hijacked. And you are not dealing with enemies 5,000 away, 5,000 miles away. You're dealing with enemies right here in your own backyard who are suited and booted, wearing ties, and they're going to do everything they can, because once they can remove the firearms out of your hands, then it's easy for them to run this country into the ground. And look at all the rest of the countries. There's an example to us. And example 4 is the main reason why we're going to hold on to them. But I can tell you one thing, here in the South, I'm not even going to say I wish them well. But I would tell you this, and here in the South, they ain't getting the people guns, because these people are ready not only to live, but they're ready to die in order to be able to defend themselves. So have fun passing your foreign laws, because the Americans here in the South is not going to accept foreign jurisdiction from a foreign entity, from a foreign government. And I wish they would wake up and understand and see that we as the people, we the people, we need to start coming together. And we need to stop all this division and racial divide, because they're coming after all of us. And the same plantation that the slaves was on a few hundred years ago or a few years ago, now they got all of us on the plantation. And the people better wake up, because you all are slaves now. And if you don't understand this, you deserve, just like the other ignorant people deserve, exactly what they get when they're allowed, through legislation and a stroke of a pen, their ability to defend themselves be taken away just because some politician has been sold out to Goldman Sachs. It's just a shame. It's a literal shame.
Pastor, we're seeing right now unprecedented weather we've never seen before. Even the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory has had to come out and talk about how the aquifers in California, under where we produce close to 70% of the produce that we eat here in the U.S. and across the world, just are not being replenished in the same way. We're seeing people in Northern California, in order to get showers, having to go to parking lots and use temporary shower housing units there that they're shipping in the water. There's San Diego's looking at using sewer water. At the same time, we're seeing cold snaps we've never seen before. And it just, you talked about chemtrails and the weather modification. It sure seems that they are intent on making things very difficult for us and even killing off a very large number of our population. Can you talk a little bit about your views on the chemtrails and possible weather modification? I don't know if you get into that much or not, but it sure seems, whether you believe it in or not, it sure seems like, with what's happening, our food prices are going to skyrocket here soon enough. And then maybe followed up with some talk about some of the preparations that you and your family are putting in place to be prepared for some of these storms that are coming at us.
Sure. Yes, sir, by all means. Jesus said that there was going to be distress in nations with perplexity. And he said that the sea and the waves are going to be roaring. That's clearly what he said. We have people, and the people need to wake up, that are evil by nature, and they're serving Satan. The 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto is in effect. They have plans to reduce the population down to, I think, like 500,000 people or 5 million people, according to the Georgia Guidestones. You can call this conspiracy or whatever you want to, but the fact is we're under curses, because the same way that the Israelites refused to keep the laws and statutes and commandments and they spurned the Most High, we in the country have turned our back on the Father. We have turned our back on Yah, because church starts in the home. And when it's taken away out of the home, you're going to watch this decline, and we're watching it right now. So how do I preface that with everything that is going on right now? Well, we are suffering as a nation because we refuse to humble ourselves and submit ourselves to the authority and sovereignty of God. That's the reason why we're suffering today. And all these plagues and all these curses are coming up on us as a people. And it should be a beacon and a sign and a warning. Now, I understand that they have weather modification. They got this thing out there called HAARP, to where they manipulate and control weather. And here right now, we're experiencing weather here, cold snaps, worse than what it was last year in the early stage. Fruit ripening on the trees before they're supposed to and stuff. These people are manipulating the atmosphere. They're doing everything they can to make sure they keep the people sick and keep the control of them. Now, what I advocate is this, and I get this from the book of Acts, who many people refuse to actually understand. The book of Acts actually talks about community or common unity. You can't do this thing by yourself. You're going to have to actually get together with people of like mind, like consciousness, and those who mean business and are very serious about living a quiet and separated life. You're going to have to start prepping. You're going to have to actually start finding people who are of the same mind and same conscience. And y'all going to have to band together. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's hard to trust people next to you. You're going to have to know them. You're going to have to be the ones to determine, to decide if you're going to allow them into your group or not. Because most people today simply can't be trusted because they've been infected and their minds are evilly infected by all the commercials and everything else that's going on in this world. These people have a plan to make sure that they put the majority of Americans in population centers, which is called cities. And they want to control these people. Of course, there's Agenda 21 all over again. They want to control these people. And that's how that they control them is in these cities. They want to bring people from the countries and put them into the cities. But I'm telling people, you get out of those cities and get into the country so you can learn how to grow your own food. Get you a couple of greenhouses so you can actually protect your food from the chemtrails up above. Start doing the things that the old folks used to do, which is canned food. Rather than going to the grocery store, they went to the storeroom or the storehouse. Start preparing yourselves because they're going to control this population by food. And they're going to create a cause. And this cause is going to force many people out there to go and receive their mark. And you're going to get it if you're not prepared. You need to prepare yourselves for what is coming. And most people, they choose to just throw away this wisdom, throw away this knowledge, even though they can see the decline right in front of them. And you need to have mutual assistance groups. You need to try to find you someone within 5 miles one way, 5 miles of another way, and then successively 5 miles. You need to start cashing stuff. You need to start saving stuff. You need to start storing up. You need to start developing a rapport with people who you can trust because you're going to need each other in this time. We're going to need each other because I have this feeling that the same way that we have gone across this world and created terrorism all across this world, I have a feeling that we're getting ready to fight a war on our own soil. And it's going to take us being together in unity as a people in order to overcome this. Now, I'm hoping that Jesus come before then. And I don't believe he's going to come secretly either. But we're going to go through some tribulation. There's no ifs, ands, and buts and maybes about it. So pull your bootstraps up and get ready for the ride of your life. But prepare yourself. Prepare, prepare. And then all the ones that chose not to prepare, don't worry about it. They're not going to be able to get to you anyway because they chose to not be wise in the midst of this time that we're living in. We're going to have to seek the old paths. We're going to have to go back to the old ways, whether we like it or not. All these modern day conveniences and the deception of them and stuff, this run is over. And people need to start seeing the writing on the wall. I hate to sound like it's all gloom and doom, but I'm telling you right now, within the last every year, I have not seen this country get better. I continually keep seeing it getting successfully worse and worse and worse. And I keep watching the people getting worse and worse and worse. I watch people get sicker and sicker and sicker. I watch the morality decline. I watch people actually go away from spirituality or following Yah. I actually watched them go away from that to trusting in their own hearts and their own wisdom. And I'm watching people now that are leaving the church. And now you got the devil who's the pastor in the pulpit that's preaching to you another gospel. So, hey, you better come out and you better get out, every single one of you, if you have any hope and chance to prepare for what's coming, both economically, socially, and religiously on this world.
Pastor, I'm glad to hear you talk about that secret rapture thing because I've wrote a couple of stories about that as well. And there's a really good pastor, I think his name is Stephen somebody in Arizona that's put out some really, really good videos on that. Steering back around again, if we can, to the Second Amendment. You talked about the confiscation. We've talked here, Jason and I have talked here on the program and had other guests on here, and we're under the impression that the whole Sandy Hook thing was nothing more than a false flag attempt to get our firearms. Two-part question. The false flag really is a real military tactic. A, is it not? And B, do you think you're going to keep using those type of false flag events until they're really going to try to they have to get the guns from us before they can use their master stroke. So what do you see them doing to try to do that, to get our guns going forward?
Well, it's called problem, reaction, and solution. They create the problem and they expect a certain reaction, and then they who created the problem give you the alleged solution. And what they're doing right now, they're testing the core of the American people. They're watching carefully out to every last one of these false flags. Yes, I believe in false flags. I believe they're doing it. They're testing to see how the people are going to respond. And each and every time they have one of these false flags, they're taking notes to see what else they can do in order to make sure that they cover all bases, so that the next time that they have the main false flag and stuff, that the American people are going to be turned so far upside down, they're going to know which way they're coming or going and stuff. Have you heard the official story? The official story is utterly amazing. They try to tell us that one boy did all this destruction, and yet and still, those of us of a military mindset, we know good and well that there's no way that one man could do all that destruction in such a short period of time. So they create the problem. And mind you, they don't mind killing folks, because I believe that 9/11 was a false flag. You ain't gonna tell me that some raghead 5,000 miles away turned around and flew those twin towers, flew those planes into twin towers and stuff, and then the building goes down in a controlled demolition, and I'm supposed to believe that mess. And then all of a sudden, this is building over here that never got hit by anything. It collapsed on its own. And then the Pentagon, they say there was actually an airplane flew into it and hit it, and you can't find any rubber or rubbish of an airplane there. No, these people are liars. They are flat out liars. And only the people who are dumb and deceived and choose to believe the government because they done made government God is going to be deceived by this. And that's the problem that we're facing today. There's not enough of us that are woke up. There's just simply not enough of us. Most people love this matrix, and they have no desire whatsoever to come out of it. But this Sandy Hook, we can expect a few more of them, just like Combine and everything else. They're going to continue to keep testing the waters, and when they think that they're ready, they're going to move in for the juggler and for the kill.
So of course, you're speaking about the Hegelian dialectic, the problem, reaction, solution, and
Yes,
that is one of the that's one of the hallmarks of the false flag. I don't know how it is down there. Here in Flathead Valley, it's not too bad. But you have instances, Pastor, around where you're at, of this whole ramping up the police, the militarization, and all these, the big police vehicles. And I think pretty much even a small town police station can just make a request, and they'll give them really way more arms than they really need for their population. Do you think this militarization, A, is going to continue, and B, do you really think that the police and the military are going to turn on and fire on American citizens?
Based on my own personal experience, I believe, yes, the military will, in fact, turn and fire upon the American citizens. The only dissenters that you're going to have are those who are informed. And the majority of the people who actually go down and sign their name on a dotted line and raise their right hand and give the oath and take a step forward, the majority of these people that do that, when they graduate public fool, they have no idea what the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of the Independent, none of this says. They have no idea. And because they're receiving a paycheck, here it is, economic collapse, people are starving, the police are now whooping the American people, and there's no justice. That's the same thing that's getting ready to take place up here in Ferguson. You got the police that is militarized everywhere you go, and that's because the government is united. Government has grown entirely too big, and government in itself is evil by nature, and it continually keep growing. It's going to get more powerful, and the more they taste power, the more they want, and they're going to continue to keep on going. And they have actually made the people of the United States of America enemies. So the people in this country need to wake up and understand that this is a battle between us and them. And I don't care if you think I'm sounding militant or whatsoever. I ain't sticking my head in the sand and acting like I'm blind and can't see. That is just really what's happening. You have people just like, I contrast this with the movie Braveheart. I recommend people look at Braveheart 30 times over if you can. You have this King Edward Longshanks who got the throne by hook and crook, and he's ruling over here in Scotland, England, and he decides to oppress and rule Scotland. But in order to get his rule and stuff, what does he do? He pays these people a lot of money to fight for them, government officials or army, to actually go against the modern day militia or what they call the people of the land. That's the same thing we got today. And you look, every time you turn around, you have somebody get pulled over for a traffic ticket, 4 or 5 cops shows up, and next thing you know, you got black vehicles, you got people in BDUs, you got people in boots, military boots and stuff, and you got them carrying ARs and everything else, all for one person, a little old lady being pulled over on the side of the road. No, government can't produce anything, they can only take, and that's what they're doing. They taste blood, and they're taking from us right now. And we're looking at the militarization right now, not only of this government, but remember, Barack Hussein Obama, the president of the United States of America, he told us that we need an American civilian military force. That's what he said. And we've got it through the militarization of the sheriff's department, the police department, all the local officials and stuff, and they're all joining together. And people, I'm telling you, that they have drew the line in the sand, and they have an alternate conscience. It is the government against the people, and we're being policed and we're being destroyed right before our very eyes.
Pastor, I was wondering if we might be able to talk about what's happening with the immigration now. Again, I am all for legal immigration. My family immigrated here. My grandfather for a time was even an illegal immigrant. He jumped the ship outside of Ellis Island and swam into New York Harbor, but then went on to gain his citizenship and helped to storm the beaches of Normandy. But it seems like there just is no regard for law or any sort of structure, and it seems to be very much a political agenda to whether it's a Cloward and Piven stratagem, or to collapse the welfare system, or just bring in a voting bloc. It just doesn't seem to be something that's going to work out well for you and me, who are already American citizens here. Can you talk a little bit about your thoughts on what's happening on the southern border there?
Well, I'll actually start off by history in itself. All Americans, especially white Americans, every single one of you are illegal immigrants on this soil right here, because you didn't come and conquer the land the way they used to in the old day. I'm going to come over here, I'm going to whoop the Indians, and I'm just going to take it. No, you sat down peaceably with the people of this land, and you stole their land. You made treaties, you broke every single one of them, and you're here illegally. All Americans, white, black, you're all illegal immigrants. The indigenous people of this land, this is their land. And now we have actually taken this thing over and called it America, which was named by the European Amerigo Vespucci. And now we're sitting over here on stolen ground, trying to pass laws and worry about people who we call illegal immigrants, and they are the real true people of this land. And then all they're doing is trying to come back to their land. And now we have laws in place to keep them out of their land. I think it's not utter nonsense and amazing. Now, rule of law. Yeah, well, we can't cry over spilled milk. We're here and we're now. This is what we're dealing with right now. And these people are going to tax the healthcare system. They're going to tax the welfare system. And if America don't get itself in order and stuff, we're watching this also help become a collapse. I think that they're actually going to make this whole hemisphere over here all one people. I think that's what they're up to. But I think in order for us to be able to be just, and before we can call people illegal immigrants, I think we ourselves first should have been legal, rather than us coming over here illegally, sitting down and causing these people troubles and problems, and having Thanksgiving turkey, and while the Indians are celebrating National Day of Mourning. I think it's just a sad situation. I really, truly do. So I have a different way that I look at this illegal immigrant thing. I actually look at it from actual factual statements. Now, we're going to deal with it based on where we are at today. then and what laws are in place, I believe that everybody should have a chance. But you are right. It is politically driven because the Democrats who are still playing the games, they want to overwhelm the populace to make sure they try to keep control of the House and the Senate. That's what it's all about. And it's amazing. When the Republicans made a sweep this last election here on November the 4th, a lot of them have no idea that they just voted for war on two fronts. And they made John McClain, I think, the head of the some type of security war cabinet or something like that, but they didn't do nothing but vote for war. And I know that I'm jumping around on this question right here because I'm actually trying to paint a picture while I'm trying to answer the question at the same time. I'm trying to get these people to see that whether these people are illegal or not, they're poor people. And you can judge the character of this country based on how you treat the poor. And if you were, just like you said, your father, your grandfather and them, they wanted to come over here into the land opportunity, get an opportunity, and then they met the conditions and he got his citizenship. I don't think there's nothing wrong with the people who are wanting to try to better themselves to do the same thing. But these people on Fox News, these pundits, and all these people who are definitely keeping up the spirit of racism, CNN, Fox, ABC, CBS, all of them, they have an agenda. And their agenda is to keep the people divided and conquered. And it's just another way to perpetuate the spirit of racism.
Well, Pastor, we're coming up here with about 5 minutes or so left in the show, and it's been a fantastic interview, I must say. Before we let you go, I want to give you the opportunity to do a couple things, talk about anything that you didn't get a chance to talk about, or any questions perhaps that maybe you had hoped we would have asked but failed to. And then afterwards, if you could give out your websites where people can reach you, the best way to hear your radio program, and just if people want to know more about you, just give us an idea of how we can do that.
My parting words would be, and I really truly thank you, James and Jason, for having me on your particular broadcast. I mean, I've immensely enjoyed myself. No doubt y'all professional talk show hosts, and I'm honored to actually be here to discuss these issues with y'all. And I thank y'all for having me on. My parting words would be the same thing that the prophets of old have said. Hosea said in Hosea 4:6, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. And that's what we're dealing with today. We are destroyed for a lack of knowledge because we have rejected knowledge. And Yah said, because you reject knowledge, I'm also going to reject you. And you will be no priest to me, seeing here's the key, forgotten the law of thy God. And he says, since you have forgotten the law, I'm going to forget your children. And that's what we're dealing with today. We're dealing with curses because the people have put God out of their lives. The prophet Isaiah said in Isaiah 5:13, therefore my people are gone into captivity because they have no knowledge, and their honorable men are famished, and their multitudes are dried up with thirst. I can't help but to see the things that were is happening again right before our very eyes. I hope that people, if anything, will begin to develop a personal relationship outside of the influence of all these pagan religions who teach you to serve other gods, the gods of Christmas and Easter and Sunday and all this stuff. Open up your Bible. We got the same one, the King James. Open it up and read it for yourself. And if the Most High leads you to listen to me, my website is www.straightwaytruth, and straightway is spelled STRAIGWAYTRUTH.com. That's straightwaytruth.com. There I have all kinds of information that you can explore and educate yourself concerning the scriptures and preparedness. Also, we have a live video feed every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time on online-church.org. That is online-church.org. We have many elders and brothers that actually broadcast, and sisters that broadcast on our particular radio broadcast is on Blog Talk Radio, www.blogtalkradio.com/straightway. There you can listen to me live every Friday night from 7 p.m. until I'm done. And usually I open up the show for questions. I usually just take questions for a solid 3 hours of things concerning whatever may be up on your heart and mind. I think that you should definitely support this particular radio broadcast right here with James and Jason to help continue to get the truth out and to wake up as many people as we can in this world, one person at a time. I think we should support their cause, because I'm going to definitely join into the support of their cause at a particular radio station. I think that you should cultivate relationships and do whatever you can to not walk around offended. And if you are offended with someone, please forgive them. Let them loose and let them go. So I want everybody to be encouraged. Thank you for having me, James and Jason.
All right, Pastor Dowell, thanks so much for being on the show. Hopefully we'll have you on again sometime soon, and we certainly appreciate it. Have yourself a great day.
Shalom.
And so, my fellow Americans,